sharing it. It's double-sided. It's double-sided. All right. All right, guys. It's 2026, and I guess we're in season two of Talking Ship, episode 1.
Can we
And
call it season 2 or season 1.5?
I mean, yeah, because we've been really shitty at actually doing this. I think we did 6 episodes last year, and our goal was 2 a month. So,
Yeah. So here we are. It's 2026. Welcome to Talking Ship. I'm Paolo Meglio. This is Will Nofsinger.
yeah, I think we're going to try to do a better job of this. We've set designated times to do this at least once a month, guaranteed.
And we're doing it in person now, as you guys can see.
Yeah, well, welcome to our office.
Yeah. This is where the magic happens.
We're not tech savvy enough to know how to do this any other way than recording on Zoom. So hopefully this microphone works the way we have it set up.
Yeah. So here we are, guys.
We'll recap last year a little bit,
Yeah.
kind of leading up to stuff we didn't do.
Crazy December.
We'll jump into, I guess, the events coming up.
Yeah, we got Miami Boat Show coming up, which is moving back to its original location off of Collins.
I think that'll be good. We'll jump into that.
Yeah, and then we'll touch on travel. We got some travel plans coming,
Yep.
and we're looking forward to the Palm Beach show.
Yeah.
Yeah, life carries on.
Yeah. It's like a reset almost.
Yeah, continuation. I mean, right now we have some really good energy. Trying to build upon that. We finished, like I said before, we finished December really strong.
December was a month to remember.
Yeah, ran right up until the 31st, very last boat of the year.
Yeah, we had a 113 President Trideck that is still sort of lingering around with some things, and we had a 130 Christensen, a 145 Benetti, and a 170 Bedship.
Yeah.
So really, all in 1 month, awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and not to be forgotten, a 35-foot.
Oh, Beneteau.
Beneteau.
Yeah. So 5 boats in a month's pretty good, man.
It's a good month. Yeah. It's a good month.
You got to go to Italy, do a survey in Italy, tour the Benetti factory.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was quite the learning experience. I really did enjoy that.
Yeah.
Touring the factory, seeing my nerdy side of seeing how the metal boats are put together, how they blend the steel and aluminum and all that is, to me, was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a hell of a shipyard. All the shipyards in Europe, for the most part, like that, just are so massive compared to what we have here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, when you're walking through a yard and a 120 or 145 doesn't look big,
Yeah,
you know it's a massive place.
yeah. But we had a lot of big boat sales, and good sales, because that was a 35-foot 2023, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that was an awesome December. Hopefully we can continue to carry that momentum here into 26. And yeah. So we got notes today.
Oh yeah, we're very professional.
Yeah, I think I made these this morning on ChatGPT. I did start last night, to be fair, but yeah, I think I put in here no new year, new me bullshit.
Right. No resolutions.
I mean, I have resolutions, but I don't think they're going to be. I don't know. It's just.
I think what we're looking for in this year is, at least the way I look at it, is learning and evolving. Like just the fact that we're doing this podcast in the same room and on a scheduled day, and it's a priority, makes time management makes everything else better. Because you have certain dates and certain days and activities that you can't miss. So everything else has to kind of fall into place around it.
Yeah. I was looking at what chat put out here, and fuck Chat GPT a little bit. December 2025, a month that should never have happened. Thanks for the encouragement, chat.
Right. Basically, chat is saying it's better to be lucky than good.
Let's see what it says. What those deals actually taught us. Convert wins into insight. Large yacht exposed construction decisions. legacy steel practices coming home to roost. I mean, whatever, chat. I think one thing we can talk about before we jump into this year is that Christensen is going to be a pretty cool refit process. That's a substantial paint, teak, ship systems. I mean, full blown,
Yeah.
big time refit.
Yeah, that is a boat with great pedigree. And it if you're going to do so, you could say that it's going for its second refit
Yeah,
because the boat's been repowered. But this will
probably more
be
like its fourth. It's a 1993
yeah,
or build.
yeah. So figure every 10 years it's had some level of refit. But this will probably be one of the most extensive ones.
Yeah, it had the repower and it had the zero speed hydraulic fins added in the most recent yard period that it had, which were two of the big I guess the big things that brought us to that boat. We had a buyer willing to spend a whole lot more and detrimental to our take home, but
Right.
we felt it was the right boat for his. And I think that's kind of nice to highlight. We found what we thought hit his criteria the best, and it wasn't necessarily the most expensive boat we could have sold him. Six staterooms, a Christensen, cat power, zero speed fins.
Right.
Um,
I think
really everything that he wanted, a big charter platform, and that's that boat. It already had one.
yeah, especially with the 6 staterooms in that size category makes it phenomenal for charter. The layout of the boat makes it, and I think that that's one of the things we around 20 during the course of 2025 we really focused in on is matching customers' mission to the boat because even with the Christensen towards the end, we almost flip-flopped. We almost went to a different boat.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
some of that, he was a first time boat buyer, and we very much went into that telling him like this is going to be a lot of work. But I think even though he knew that, it was still momentarily a bit overwhelming and more than he wanted to really tackle.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately that was the right decision to stick with that boat. The other one was nicer, newer, all that stuff, but it didn't.
It didn't meet the mission.
Yeah,
It didn't meet the mission ultimately of what he wants to accomplish with this boat, over the course of the next probably 3 years or 4 years before he cycles into something else, which
yeah,
which is nice. And that's the relationship building part, right? Knowing that we're gonna be working with him throughout this refit and then, learning his next mission and ultimately the next boat.
yeah.
You
As
know.
long as he doesn't kill us because of the decision that we led him to.
Exactly.
He might tell us to piss off, but
Yeah, yeah.
I doubt it. I think it'll go well. That boat's called Sweet Escape, and it will be continuing its charter program through Worldwide Boat. A guy named Rod Lindor will put the link to that in our podcast description.
Yeah, they just did a charter and all the feedback from the charter was that it was excellent.
Yeah,
Customers were super, super happy with how it was carried out.
I was mildly distracted by Ben Farnborough wandering aimlessly back and forth.
Right.
Like he maybe wanted to come in here.
Yeah, you got intimidated by the microphone.
Thank God we have this
Yeah, now we have privacy windows.
glass. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's kind of like we're blurred.
you
So
should
that
lock the door and make them really wonder what we're doing in here.
all our obscene gestures are now blurred so nobody can see what we're doing. But I wanted to do mirrored glass so that I could see people checking themselves out.
Yeah.
But I got vetoed by the office people.
Unfortunate. Unfortunate. We'll
So
have to have them wondering what's going on here. So jump into 2026 here, which I can't believe those holidays went by so damn fast. That's a very cliche thing to say, but the days just keep seeming to go faster and faster.
when you're busy, yeah. I mean, and we were, like you said, 5 boats in basically a month, kept us very busy. So December came and went, and it was a fast thing.
Throw a kid into that mix, it makes it even more insane.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. And now here we are, starting the year. There's some deals on the table. There's some things that we're juggling and trying to take the lessons, right?
I think something that we can safely say is that pandemic error sales cycle is 100% behind us. And you've experienced it recently doing a deal where we had a lot of these brokers, so-called brokers, jump into the industry that maybe they were in sales and something else and they succeeded and they came in right when COVID happened and they saw a lot of success that may or may not actually have been because they were any good at what they were doing.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from that. I think that there's a couple of things, right? You have the COVID buyer who's now selling their boat and they feel their boat is worth substantially more than what it's actually worth because they overpaid.
Who saw that coming?
And yeah, and then you also have, you know, brokers who didn't have to perhaps do as much due diligence, both on selling and buying a boat.
That's catching up to them.
And it's catching up to them. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you have a lot of guys that are doing it part time. You know, they're a captain and they turned into a broker, or they were a boat detailer and it turned into a broker because the deals were just so
And
quick.
it's so easy to get a license.
Yeah.
And, I think those guys are getting exposed slowly.
Mhm.
And hopefully our industry will continue to grow towards continuing education. And I mean, the bigger boats are still pretty well guarded from that kind of stuff, but you get into like the 60-foot, $2 million, whatever,
Mhm.
that does happen quite a bit. We're getting ready to get a listing on a small boat for a guy he's an admiral, he's got a fleet, but he had it listed with his captain and wasn't seeing any real production. And it's a good thing for us, I think, ultimately.
Yeah, and it's also part of like educating somebody when they're bringing a boat to market and managing I think managing expectations is important and being able to tell a client, hey, your boat's a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10, and maybe we got to make these adjustments to it if this is the dollar amount that you want. Or change their expectations of what they're going to sell it for and be realistic and honest with them because in the end, they're just going to be upset. Hey, you said my boat was going to sell for $2 million, and we haven't gotten an offer over 1.5.
Yeah, we're definitely back to things taking a year. That contract is a year of listing agreements for a reason.
Yeah.
And we're definitely seeing that happen and back to a more normalized marketplace here. One thing though, I think we'll continue to struggle with because there were plenty of guys who got out pandemic related, I'm gonna wait. Prices were too high. They'd owned boats for forever in the past. And they are having a tough time accepting the fact that prices have gone up for probably ever because supply is still outside of the demand.
Mm-hmm.
You've got more buyers that see it. We had a lot of people get in, some got out, but we're forever more owners and buyers now than there are supply until that
Yeah.
catches up, which I don't know that will happen.
Prices, I mean, when a market is influenced, whether it's demand or whatever, anything that drives the prices up in a market will stabilize and drop, but they will never return to where they started.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially in this scenario, right?
yeah, and I mean that's something that you study in economics in general. I mean, it's in any industry, washing machines. So all of a sudden the price of washing machines goes up and you know the market stabilizes and the price will come back down, but it'll come down to within 15% of where it was when the price spike happened.
Yeah.
But it'll never go back to what it was before the price spike.
Yeah. Now that's not to say the boat value won't go below prior sales, but yeah, I think that it just plus the new cost of building a boat has astronomically increased. But
Yep.
and suppose speaking of building boats, we've got boat show season back full circle, so that we can start kind of talking about that. Got a big trip to Turkey that's getting ready to take place for me.
Yeah, where are you going? Where in Turkey?
No idea. Never been before.
All right.
The guy that sold or that bought the 145 Benetti has a Minguier, somewhat still unknown builder in the US, but they're doing some really cool stuff. Their new product line's awesome. And
So
he
you
wants
went to the
to,
factory.
yeah, he wants to list his boat. So part of that will be I'm going to spend I think 6 days. So I'll go to a couple of factories and that
Nice.
being one of them. And so Istanbul, check out Minguier, and there's a whole corridor of builders right there, and see if I can knock out like three of those. Check out the city, might as well while I'm there, and then Izmir. I'm going to meet the client in Izmir, and then we'll go check out this six stateroom, 32 meter,
Nice.
pretty cool boat. Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be interesting to debrief you when you get back.
100%. I'm
Yeah,
excited about that trip.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like a great trip. I mean, it's it's funny because you've been to Italy a bunch of times in this industry. The trip I did to Italy, which I've been to Italy many times, but doing it in this industry for the first time, it was like I was like a you know
Kid in a candy
yeah,
shop.
like
Yeah.
everything was new, everything was like even the traveling experience, like going there. So it's kind of cool to even with your years in the industry to see it going somewhere first time,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know,
I should have gone to Turkey like three or four times, and every time
already, right?
I've canceled. Yeah.
So,
We did a yard trip with the company last year that I had to bail on doing the delivery of that Vander Valk and the Two Oceans debacle that was happening, that deal. Just too much was going on.
yeah,
And just to highlight real quick too, we talked about the part-time guys, and that's one of the reasons we didn't do this podcast enough. I mean, finding the time to do anything other than sell boats and occasionally go enjoy yourself
right.
is a challenge.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know how you can think. I think some of those guys, once they get in, they're like, okay, this
yeah,
is and it's sink or swim, and a lot of guys that don't do well, like they got to have a way to make some bread, so they have a second job, and often it's a captain or some other industry related thing.
yeah. And that whole expression of it's trying to be an expert in multiple fields. Like it doesn't you have things that complement each other, right? But if you don't devote the time to this, then the other things that could potentially complement that don't aren't useful, and then you're running, right? So like you sold one boat and you got a little money in your pocket, but then that money starts to run out, and you run to the things that you're better at, which is being a captain or being a maintenance guy and whatever, and then
Yeah.
you lose focus of what you're trying to accomplish, and that's what happens to a lot of people who list boats, right? They list a boat with their captain. Well, you know, can take 300 days to sell a boat. And in the meantime, that captain's not making any money until the boat's sold. So they can't devote the time to marketing it or even to showing it or to making sure that it's
Well, they should be able to show it. They're
right.
there.
But
But yeah,
they're
no,
run
I'm with you.
the mindset a lot of times, not all of them, but a lot of times is I'm always chasing the dollar,
Right.
and
Not to
that's
say that you're not when you're in this, it's sales at the end of
right,
the day, but yeah, it's too time consuming
right.
at the end of the day,
It's too
right?
time consuming. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else is 26? We talked about it, the Miami show moving back to Collins. I think that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that though. I that was a great show. We all bitched about it being there with parking and the convergence into that one area, and
Once you were in that show, once you were, boots on the ground, it was a great show to
mhm.
walk through to see. It'll be interesting because when it was in Collins back then, it was primarily a brokerage show. Almost everything there was brokerage. I think Viking was at one end and Hatteras was next to them. And they were for a while, and Sea Ray was all the way at the opposite end. And for a while, that's the only new boats you had down there. And
Yeah.
it seems like the Miami show now is putting a bigger emphasis on the boats being newer, even the brokerage boats.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think it'll be a huge success this year, but
No,
maybe
it'll
over
take
the
time.
next, yeah, it's going to take a couple of years to
I think it'll be
build that
better
back
though
up.
than any year that we had it downtown Miami, which I was hopeful that that would work out, but it was all over the place. You had six locations, and it
Yeah,
was a nightmare,
yeah,
absolute nightmare. And they probably should have done it all at like Island Garden or something. I understand there's limitations to that, but that would have. It's like Lauderdale, like just put it all together. Palm Beach, put it all together.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. I think you'll agree with me. Palm Beach is still probably the best show to go to.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's in March. It's always around the 24th,
Mhm.
and I don't know what we're going to put in there. We got to figure that out now pretty quick. And that's, the planning of a boat show. Like contracts have already gone out to some people,
Yeah,
and yeah, we got to get people to commit because I remember when I first started here, trying to fill the boat show was I'm not gonna say challenging, but there was always slips open almost all until the day of, and now it's like we got a waiting list like 60 days, 40 days in advance, and you're
Yeah.
like, hopefully we get in, you know?
Right. Right.
And that's
It's
it's been
secure.
like that for like 3 years.
Yeah, securing a spot at boat show is tough, and
It's expensive too.
yep.
And you see a lot of newer, more expensive boats. Your average American boat buyer goes to those shows not really finding much that they can afford or is in their market because it just doesn't make sense to spend 20 grand to put in a boat that's worth $800,000, $700,000.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it is a great show, and that's probably the cheapest, best boat show, which is an interesting combo. Usually you don't see those go together.
Yeah.
But yeah, check out Palm Beach Boat Show. I'm sure we'll do a cast just before that.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully a few.
And look at that. The broker reckoning. Part-time brokers remain a plague. ChatGPT is ruthless.
Right.
The Explorer yacht problem. Actually, so that's like my favorite niche. Like always has been. It doesn't even have to be a big boat, but that's what I like
Right.
to chase. But that segment is one of the fastest, if not the fastest. Power Cat is, I guess, the fastest, which also the smallest.
Right.
But that is sort of tied into catamarans are
Rain.
kind of an explorer style, yeah.
Mhm.
So that's a cool market, and it seems to be picking up momentum, which I think is cool, but also sucks because getting away from people is part of that, at least mindset I have.
Right.
And more people mean that gets more and more challenging.
I don't know. I mean, I think that the Explorer segment is growing, but it's also a lot like it's also like an SUV, you
It's
know.
a smaller, well,
Well,
an SUV sense, but
the Explorer market is growing, but not all of the boats that are in the market are what you're going to truly call an Explorer, you know. And so they're it's like your car versus a Ford, Explorer, an Eddie Bauer, right? Like you got to take it down a dirt road, but you're not going to take it to the the top of Tellico in North Carolina,
fair enough.
right? And so it's still an SUV, it's still off-road capable, but it's not truly an Explorer.
Well, yeah, I think
And I think that's what you see with a lot of the yachts that are in the Explorer market is that
it's a buzzy word, right? And people are
Right.
trying to design boats that look like Explorers.
Right.
That's very true.
yeah.
Very true.
So I think that's part of the growth is like people want the look, but they're not getting a ice band and they're not planning to do the Northwest Passage and all that kind of
No,
stuff.
no. Yeah, that you're right. 100%. People just like how things look and they get that perception. But that's a topic later as well this year. I think we'll do hull design and really touch on explorers and expeditions
Yeah.
and then other hull designs. And I think that'll be an informative episode. Um, so I mean, yeah, what else do we want to really jump into?
Well, we already talked about a lot of this stuff just because we jumped around a lot. Um, I'll tell you one of the things I learned over the past year that I'm educating my customers on a lot more is documentation as an owner and how
Great
much,
topic. That'll be the topic.
yeah,
We do spend about 15, 20 minutes on
Yeah.
this.
and how much value that actually adds to your resale of the boat.
For sure.
Um, I think people are like, oh, I got an oil change, and they don't keep the receipt, or they don't even bother to have it itemized. They just pay for the oil change. And it's like you go to the restaurant and they said, you want a receipt? And you're like, no, that's okay. But in this scenario, you do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We did just talk about that, right? I've got a super thick binder on my car that it doesn't have every oil change, but it has any major service, warranty related service, any upgrade or aftermarket thing I put on there. I've got all that in a folder. So not sure why, because I planned on keeping that card forever, but it's nice to have. And
Yeah. I mean,
but that's exactly what you're saying, trying to have that on hand to give a buyer when you're trying to sell them a product like this
yep.
to prove that you've done X, Y, and Z. Plus, it just makes you look like you give a shit and know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's and I don't think people realize how much weight that carries. It's like it would be like putting a new roof on your house and you get a lifetime, transferable warranty, but when you go to sell your house, you don't have the paperwork to show it.
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, call Will. He put the roof on the house and it's got a warranty. But
Yeah, but it's gotten so easy now too. There's really no excuse. Like I don't have to print all this stuff out, but in a car they give you a printed out. They don't
right.
really email you everything all the time. So like it's a little different. But even on a boat, you could go
Yeah.
buy a printer and print it and do it. But you just take it, save it into a boat folder on
Yeah.
your desktop.
Yeah.
Boom. Put it on
Yeah.
a flash drive, give it to the next owner. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, currently, like I'm dealing with a boat right now that we were going through survey and everything else, and my buyer is a very
It was advertised as like flawless.
yeah,
Flawless.
and my buyer is a very educated consumer. He's had 15 boats. And he said, hey, I just want to see the service records. And the service records came as a spreadsheet with line items.
Yeah, we did this.
Did
We
this,
did
did
this.
this, did this, no receipts, no anything.
Yeah.
And it gives the perception, and it's not an accurate one necessarily, but it gives the perception that I'm trying to conceal something from you. And as opposed to being like, here's the receipt, here's the invoice that says paid, not a quote,
Yeah,
but
was
an
it
invoice.
really done?
Yeah.
I mean, and having a quote is still better
Better.
than nothing, right?
Right.
Like if you have the itemized, I guess a spreadsheet helps, like to just do a quick overview, but like also,
It should be accompanied.
yeah,
Like and all that, especially the higher the value of the boat goes, the more important, the more emphasis people are going to put on how good is your documentation of the things that you've done, and the care that you've taken of the boat.
you didn't put your phone on mute.
That was my phone. Oh, it is my phone.
Ah! And we'll be back. What is it?
Um, that is somebody that is
Nick?
no, yeah.
That can wait.
No, that's this lady that's gonna put some wood floors in the kitchen.
Oh, at your house.
Yeah, that can wait.
Yeah, but that's a great thing to document,
Yeah,
right? Like, yeah, people can see it was done, and I think that's also like sometimes people are like, well, you can tell obviously this has been done. Okay, great, yeah, you can, but it's still nice to be able to go back and recreate. Like, let's say I need a piece of that wood because something gets damaged, and now I have something to at least figure that out.
right.
And the thing that really sucks is when you say you did your 2,000 hour engine service and don't have a record of it. Well, I can't tell, even if there's like you can see if the bolts have been removed that didn't get painted, which
Right.
usually is the case. That doesn't mean that they did everything that they were supposed to do.
Correct, and the receipt will tell you that. The
Right.
invoice will tell you that. I mean, the boat that I'm dealing with now had 1,000 hour service on it, and it wasn't complete. In other words, when you read through the invoice of the work that was done, and you read through what the recommendation is by the manufacturer for the 1,000 hour service was 5 items short. And that is the kind of stuff that, can make or break a deal.
Yeah.
And that's where, my customers that own boats, that's where I'm like, hey, make sure you're keeping this up. Every time they call me up, I'm on the yard to do a bottom job. Make sure you keep those statements.
100%, man.
Yeah.
I have a pretty nice boat for sale right now that comes up a lot, and the owner even just admitted, like, we've been trying to chase a buyer in Cali for a while, and he's very timid and wants, and all the boats he's looking at, I guess, are the same. I don't represent him. I just have one of the listings, and we've got more than the other people, and have been way more responsive and offered for a phone call with the actual owner of my boat. But he was like, I acknowledge I think I should have kept a little bit better at records because it would make this easier to prove. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And it that can add more value sometimes to the boat than it being shiny.
Yeah, plus the amount of work it takes to go recreate those invoices for people, or well, you can just call Marcelo at South Shore Diesel. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that like the time kills deals.
Yep.
Trying to get all that put together.
Track them down, let them go through their files, et cetera, et cetera. It's
Yeah, just
a
keep
big
the
deal.
proof. Keep
Yeah.
the proof. Like it's not very hard.
Mm.
but it's very neglected. And we were talking about maybe building a system for that, like that would just do it for people. I
Yeah.
mean, it there's really no excuse not to have it at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's it,
But that
man.
bit you on that deal.
Yeah. It may be the reason the deal gets killed,
Yeah.
but we'll see. I
That
mean,
and it was not quite represented the right way.
yeah, I think that's also something that's important for customers and people generally to understand is a lot of what we do is managing expectations on both sides, right? Like making sure that the seller has a realistic understanding of where his boat fits in the market and having the confidence and the knowledge to tell them, listen, you love your boat, you have a lot of pride, but your boat's a 7 or an 8, and it needs to be a 9 or a 10 for the price that you're trying to sell it for. And if you bring a buyer to a boat and you give them a realistic expectation, like, hey, I'm taking you to see a 7, then they're not upset. But if they think they're coming to see a 9 and you show them a 7 and it surveys like a 7, it makes it a lot harder to close to bring the deal to a finish.
Uh, Over promise, under deliver,
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. I think I also think people have a really tough time giving out, like when I go get a listing, what is, like I just did it on a Lazera that we're listing. The boat is very nice. It has tons of upgrades. It's not the 9 plus that the owner told me it would be. It is a very nice boat.
Right.
But he when he asked me to give him a real idea, I was like, well, we'll break it up into the areas of the boat. Your engine room is 9. That's in really nice shape. All of that looks great. Exterior is 7-ish, 7.5, and the interior is probably right around 7.5 to 8. So I mean, maybe the boat's an 8 overall, but I think a lot of buyers or sellers, for obvious reasons, have that perception of their boat. If they do have a nice boat and they do take their time, because people have a lot of pride in their boat. But brokers, on the other hand, I get it, they're trying to sell a boat, but like, I don't know that they know how to go get a listing and tell a client, hey, your boat is a 4.
Right.
If you don't get the listing because of that, so be it. Like, I
Right.
mean,
Because a 4 is very hard to sell.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. I mean, would you take it? Maybe it just depends on a lot of stuff, but you might as well attack that out the gate. And you can do it politely and still get the listing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you're going to be an uphill battle, and I think you're putting yourself. But then it just pisses people off who come in from California or wherever to see a boat that you said is an 8 or whatever. When it's not.
Yeah. And that goes back to part-time brokers versus full-time brokers, because if you are doing this full-time, you should take it upon yourself to preview a lot of these boats and make sure that they are what they are before you bring your customer to it. And that takes time, and that's time consuming, and but again, if you can manage the expectations with your clients and put them in the right mindset before you show them something, you have a better chance of success.
I wonder, do you think that gives you a point on 1 to 10, your documentation of work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what do we talk about when we survey boats all the time is we want to avoid things that create a story, right? So like,
Yeah,
I just want to look at a
a
boat,
bad story.
a bad story,
Yeah.
or that makes someone look too deep, right? So I just went and looked at a boat, and this boat has a really cool uh, feature that the customer custom designed, which is so he could hook up dockside uh, like a chiller, so that because where he lives it's very weedy, so he has a filtration system and he hooks up these 2 hoses and runs his air conditioners without clogging up his system. It's a great system that
What is he? Where do
the hoses are in his mezzanine.
no,
And
but like, what is it?
so
Where is it pulling water?
so it's he's got a chiller on the dock, and it's running like you would in a boatyard.
It's like an evaporation tower,
Yeah.
or
Right.
is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cooling tower.
cooling tower. Thank you.
So basically he hooks up his boat when it's at the dock to a cooling tower. But when you're on the boat and you open this hatch where those two hoses are with the quick connectors, you just see two hoses and nothing. And I said, hey, why don't we label this and put caps on it? And that way it's then, because the first time a surveyor, because this is a custom thing, looks in this hole and sees that, they're going to say, I got to investigate this.
Right.
As opposed to saying, wow, that's really cool. It's for hooking up a cooling tower.
And so he's also running some fresh water through that. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Oh,
awesome.
it's a great system.
Yeah.
It really is a great system. So that's that. But the point of it is that if you're documented and if things are labeled and if things are done correctly, it's a plus because nobody's going, huh, let's investigate further. And, and then they start picking the boat apart just because they're trying to figure out what you just did. That's a custom piece.
Right. Right.
So documentation is,
even if you can see it, right?
even if you can see it,
I could see, man, momentary lapse here, reset. So even if you can see the chillers are updated,
Yeah.
knowing the exact year of that chiller is helpful. And
exactly.
a host of other, it just looks better. But
Yeah.
even if it's very obvious, like some of those AC units have those new dosers, those chlorine dosers, which are super cool. Like obviously I can see that you have that now installed and it's an upgrade, but like tell me more.
Yeah.
A lot of buyers
Yeah.
are tech savvy. As an owner, you got to think like exit strategy, and not everybody operates like me. Maybe you don't care about that. Maybe
Right.
you're not that person. Okay, great, but you're going to encounter that when you go to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it boils down to. You just put it correctly. It's like all of this enhances your exit strategy on the boat, which everybody has to have at some point.
Yeah. And hopefully if you have a really good sales rep, he takes time, or she, to put together all that into a nice condensed list that they can send out whenever somebody inquires, and hey, boom,
Yep.
immediately they're like, wow, this owner has a nice boat. I think, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
probably a good boat. Let's definitely see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So document your work.
Document your work, document the care that you put into your boat. It makes a difference. And yeah, if you're the person that keeps their boat polished and waxed and all these things, and then on top of that, you have the documentation, and there's a boat right next to you that's identical to yours and doesn't, your boat's going to get sold.
Yeah. And even if it's time consuming somewhat, it is whatever, an extra 2-3 minutes to save it and put it somewhere. You don't have to save the buffs and the whack. It'd be
No.
great if you do.
Right.
At the end of the day, too, it can get information overload, like where you have a binder that's like 4 inches thick and you have to sift through. Oh, we went to Home Depot and bought this fitting. Like that doesn't quite so much matter,
It's the meat and potatoes stuff.
or at least segregate it out, right?
The yard visits, the service calls, the warranties, all that kind of stuff. And I've seen it in some boats where literally it says, there's a binder and it says warranties, and you open it up and it's got all the warranties.
Yeah, segregate them out to like, this was a big thing, this was a small thing, and it does, again, takes an extra 30 seconds to make that folder and drop it in there instead.
Yeah, because and to Will's point, it saves you time if you do it at the beginning, because some people just throw everything in a box and say, okay, at some point I'm going to sit down and organize it. But if you organize,
like your photos that you always say you're going to go make albums for,
yeah,
at least I do, and I do, but usually it's on a flight and it's like a year later, and I'm like, yeah, I have like 8,000 photos on my phone.
Yeah, I just went through and had like my phone was like, we're too full.
Yeah.
Well, I think on that we should probably wrap up this.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah,
we'll try to shoot another one of these next month. Maybe the beginning of the month, since I'll have kind of just gotten back from Turkey.
Yeah.
And then it's fresh in the mind.
Oh.
And then we talk about the Miami Boat Show.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So thank you guys for joining us. We will see you again soon.
Yeah, Will Knopfsinger and Paulo Ameglio. This was Talkin Ship.
Good night.